and we did the whole tour, looked at both the intakes, and then we went to Garrison Lake and we opened up that pump house from 93 to see what was going on in there.
Yeah.
And then we went up to the main station up here, and then we went up to Coast Guard Hill. So.
I guess we're all waiting for what did they say?
Yeah, I think, well, that's what I'm trying to think, like the best way to put it. Obviously, everyone will kind of hear during the meeting, but we have a plan. Let's put it that way. So we kind of have a plan, but we definitely need, they have an order of things that they think is obviously priority. So it's not, the first thing is fixing the dam at Hubbard's Creek. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that we really need to do. So we're going to need to get some funding somehow, some way. I have some, but right now to do what we need to, but we definitely are going to have to work with our civil people in order to get this extra funding to get the infrastructure fixed. Yeah. And they had some good ideas about doing long-term plans too. So all that stuff we can kind of at least start with the short term and then go from there.
Excellent.
I took a lot of pictures.
If we can't get our impoundment up to par, we can't leak any water.
Yep, exactly. And they were shocked at the amount of water leakage that we have because we showed them some of the previous reports, and they said usually 15% is where they like to stay. So they were, yeah. Oh, thank you. That was my exact same response too, Lauren. I almost spit everything that was in my mouth because I was having a drink.
Wow. I believe they expect a brand new system to be at 15%.
They said a brand new system's running between 7 and 10. What they told me, the one in Eugene is between 7 and 10, possibly 12 when they have a big leak.
Okay.
Wow.
So I was a little shocked.
Yeah, because new systems leak as well. That's true.
Yeah. So we will see. I can probably pretty much quote the water master plan from cover to cover right now based on the reading I've done the last 2 weeks.
I understand it pretty well too.
Mm-hmm.
If we would have just been able to pass the bond in, I can't believe, I think it was 2009, the project would have been $13 million.
Yeah.
It far exceeds that now.
Yeah, but it's in the 20, I think. If it's in the 20s last, from what I remember.
20 only does 54% of the infrastructure.
Yep.
According to the last master plan. Of course, they didn't put that in there. That was the first question I asked after I read it the first time.
Yep.
Actually, I was told that it covered 100%. And I said, no, it doesn't. I've been through every one of the maps. There's areas of this town that aren't even slated for repairs. And that's when the engineers went back and came back with an answer the next day.
Got it.
We need Greg, Pat, and James.
Yeah, that's what I was just texting them.
Sydney. Yes. How are you? So Tara's in a meeting right now, and I will be with you. Okay, I'm trying to do everything right now and do our
Okay, Greg is logging on. It looks like Pat is on already.
I need you to order one and we will pay for it.
Okay. And Jessica, Caroline's not here, I don't think, today.
No,
Carol.
she isn't. Yeah, she's off today. She's at a prior engagement.
If it looks like I'm lounging, it's because I'm lounging because the cord for charging isn't very long. The only spot in my house the dogs might not bark. And what was James able to make
He
it?
said he was going to yesterday, so I just texted him. So let me see.
Well, we got 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'll even give him 7 if we have to.
You're feeling generous today.
Mm-hmm. Good afternoon, Councilor Tidy.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Who's CHF?
Web viewer.
Oh, that's me, Cynthia Freeman. I'm a resident.
Thank you.
I'll turn my microphone off, though.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, John.
You look like you're in one of those mafia shows, John. Like you don't want your identity to be known.
You got some light in that house there, John?
He probably doesn't want anyone to know his identity. I don't blame him.
Yeah. You got
Maybe
one of those
open a
voice
window?
callers? I don't want to be responsible for this.
That's my new look. Let's see if I can find a light.
Open a blind?
There we go.
Open some blind.
There we go. We got some light.
No, change it back. Change it back. Just kidding.
I'm just glad to have a house.
Yeah, no kidding. They're a hot commodity around here.
Well, I'll tell you what, that living in a fifth wheel for 8 months with my spouse has been challenging.
2.5 years. 2.5 years, buddy.
You did it longer than I could have, Lauren.
You'll just be on opposite ends of the house for a while. You'll migrate back towards the middle.
Upstairs and downstairs. God's
There you go.
downstairs. All good.
All right, so what else do we have here? Mike Ennis, Linda, John, Teddy.
I have the late shift. That's a good problem. Have you talked to Nick today? Did he call you? Just like, so you haven't heard from him at all? This is happening. I was just wondering. Jesus, Mom, I told you I had to go to my office and engagement party. Satisfied? She's in her sense.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I started the recording just because it's just a minute or two before, so.
So everybody be professional now, especially the mayor. Any word from James?
Yeah, all I got, no, not yet. He has not answered me.
Okay.
Whoever caller 2 is, can you mute yourself?
Oh, there's James.
All right. Afternoon, James.
Hey, James.
Hi, Jim.
Hey, James.
Hello, everybody.
On the road again.
You're not driving with your knee, are you?
No, I'm pulled over.
Well, we'll try to get out. We'll try to get through this quick for you.
That was just the one time you were bouncing down the road.
Oh, I guess it's okay when you can write in your logbook that you took a break. It all counts, huh? You don't have to have like a 4-hour break or a continuous break. They all.
No, we're just required to have a half-hour break sometime in our work shift.
Oh, well, we'll try to make that happen.
Awesome.
Okay, it's 4:30 now, so knock knock. We're going to open up this special session of the Common Council of Port Orford, Tuesday, August 31st, 2021. So we'll call this meeting to order. For attendance, I see Gary Burns, Lauren Kessler, Tim Pogwidge, Greg Tidy, James Garrett, and myself, Pat Cox. Carolyn LaRoche had other obligations, so she cannot make it. We're all here today to set policy for water restrictions. We had our special session last week where we established that we needed to go on water restrictions, and this is what will give us the teeth to do that, since it was only an ask last week or a suggestion because we didn't have this. Another point is that we don't have public comment today. I see quite a few public members here. We will have a spot in the regular meeting agenda to talk about this because we'll have some updates about some ongoing issues we're having. But for today, we're just here to set policy, and it's not really, I don't think we're going to gain anything from public comment in this particular meeting, but we definitely want the input from the community. And I just wanted to let you know that you will have an opportunity to speak at our regular meeting. So we'll move on to our business here. The first is Resolution 2022-2 for the implementation of the state of emergency. I hope you all had a chance to look over that. Is there any discussion on that, or do you want to go ahead and make a motion and we can talk afterwards?
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2022-02, the state of emergency.
I second that motion.
All right. First and second by Gary. Okay, do we have any discussion on this motion? The letter looked pretty good to me. It kind of covered everything that we touched on. It's a really good start. Does anybody have discussion on that? That's what we like. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and call for the vote on Resolution 2022-02, state of emergency. Gary?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Tim?
Tim, yes.
Lauren?
Lauren, yes.
And Greg?
Greg, yes.
Okay, so Resolution 2022-02, state of emergency, passes unanimously. Moving on to B, Resolution 2022-03, a ban of non-essential water use.
I would make a motion to adopt the Resolution 2022-03, ban of non-essential water use.
I'll second that.
Okay, and so my only question on this one was, we don't have a real ending date, but I think that's standard. We did that with the emergency last time, so we would just have to take it off. But am I remembering correctly that we had a little bit of an issue with the state of emergency last time, or did we just have to undeclare it or have another resolution knocking it down? James, I can see the answer on your face.
Yeah, we'd have to go through that whole process again. I would feel more comfortable with an end date. We can always cancel it earlier than the automatic end date. And we can always extend it as well if we need to, but I would feel better having an end date.
Okay, what are you guys thinking? I mean, I know, John, I can see that we're not going to know that when it's going to rain, but like James says, we can always extend it. So what do you guys think of October 15th or 25th? So do we run this all the way to November, and then if we gain a lot, we take it off?
Hey, Pat, if I could just for a minute, I thought I remember Shayla saying that we could do it for 60 days.
That's okay. Well, that answers that then.
That's what I remember. That's what I put in the letter, was that when I sent the letter out, it says at least 60 days. So I really kind of left it open, 60 days plus possibly, but at least 60 days, because we figured that's probably how long till we get water recovery.
Right. And that would put us till December 1st. So we should be golden. And that makes me wonder if it's too long, but we can always take it off whenever we need to. James.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can always cancel it ahead of time. I like that. I think we should do that. But it was pointed out by someone in the audience that it reads no right of way permits instead of right of way.
Okay, got it.
Got it. Okay.
Want me to rescind my second?
Thank you. I was just going to ask for that. And then, Tim, if you could rescind your first, then we can make another motion with the changes of right of way and putting an ending date of December 1st.
I like that.
Okay, Pat, the only question I had on that is 60 days would be
November 1st.
It'd be November 1st.
Oh, because October in there.
Yeah, we got that Halloween.
I usually miss a month or two, so it's getting towards the end of the year at least, or not really, but halfway. Okay, so we have rescinded that second and that motion. So just as a reminder for whoever makes the motion with the change of the wordage right away and extending it to November 1st instead of my earlier suggestion.
I would motion that we accept resolution 2022-03 with the changes and an end date of November 1st.
I second that.
Okay. So I think we cleaned that up. Is there any discussion on that? Okay. I will call for the vote. Greg.
Greg, yes.
James.
James, yes.
Tim.
Tim, yes.
Gary.
Yes.
And Lauren.
Lauren, yes.
Sure is nice when I can see all of you on the screen at the same time. Okay, so resolution 2022-03 passes unanimously for the ban of non-essential water use until November 1st, unless we have some rain or we gain on the other end. So there's our business. Like I say to everyone in the public, or like I said, excuse me, we will have an opportunity to talk about this. We want your input. We are aware of a lot of the problems that we currently have, and we are working diligent on it with our new hires and our new crew. John and everybody's doing a great job keeping everything rolling and together. And Jessica's jumped right into, and a lot of this stuff is foreign, you know. There's many facets to her job. So anybody want to say anything before we wrap up, Gary?
I'm just curious if we wanted a report from Jessica or.
Yes.
Sure. What do you got for us, Jessica?
Okay, John, I don't know if you want to kind of jump in so today we met with the RCAC and we also had Civil West Engineering here. And we basically kind of chose a good path to start. We started up at Hubbard's Creek, looked at that station, looked at the dam, and then kind of moved our way down. So, John, I don't know if you want to kind of pick up where they had some suggestions and things that we can talk about.
Sure. Yeah. So one of our major failure points is the bottom of that dam is rotted out. So Civil is working on, in fact, he said he'd have something tomorrow. We're doing some sort of a temporary poly liner in front of it to hold until we can figure out the structural integrity of the walls so we can back brace. It's really not safe to work on because you got to work on the back side of it with all that water ahead of you. He didn't want us to attempt anything there other than what we already did on Fridays. We plugged a bunch of holes with dirt, and it slowed the leakage down tremendously. We gained back about a foot of water. So that's a very positive thing. I'm surprised it worked, but it did. And if we need to add a little more dirt over the next week or so, we'll do that just to maintain our water. The second point is we looked at the Garrison Lake. Oh, let me back up. One of our raw water pumps went out here a while back. We believe it's a control issue with tag. And tomorrow we're going to dive into that to verify that motor and pump is still good and viable. I think it is, and I'll know more tomorrow to see if it actually fires and it runs. That was one of our what did he call it? I call it single point failures because we're down to one pump there. He had another term for it. At any rate, so we'll verify that tomorrow. If it's working, then we'll move on past that one. And we went to Garrison Lake, looked at that pump house. It hasn't been open since somewhere around 93. Everything in there is pretty much hosed and no good, but we do have a tap that goes out into the lake. So that's a good thing. There may be a way to, our plan is tear down that pump house, cap off the 90, get rid of all the stuff there, keep the concrete pad so we have future emergency pump placement, and then to find out if it's actually still tied to the plant. We did find valves at the plant today with some investigation. So hopefully it's still tied in, and there's a chance that if we did have a real emergency, we'd be able to swap over and maybe use Garrison Lake once we get the testing back, which he suggested we do pretty soon. So probably next week after the long weekend, we'll get some testing done. And then we went to the plant. The plant deficiencies there are obviously the treated water pump, which you folks already know. I've informed you. We're down to one. We've got one on order. We'll need to fit them in so that we can actually pump the gallons per minute that we paid all that money for the contact tank, correct? Okay, so following me here, our next real big failure is at Coast Guard Hill. As I've been telling you, we've been down to one pump there since I've been here. It is vibrating itself apart as we speak right now. We've got multiple leaks. So tomorrow, the guy Justin from RCAC, very smart guy, a lot of information, great resource. He's free. We are going to attempt to wire and plumb in the new pump that's been sitting up there forever to see pump one, the one that's running, the only working pump, is vibrating itself together. It's shaking ungodly. So the bearings, that pump's ready to put to bed any minute. Excuse my term. So tomorrow we're going to try to get the second pump wired in and turned on to see if we can get the vibration out of that manifold system. It's a 3-pump skid, a welded prefabricated manifold on both sides. There's no adjustment. It's all built in place. There's just no room for any makeup. If anything moves or the pump doesn't line up, it's all welded. So we're at the point where we can't make repairs there, and it's going to go any day. I've lost sleep over this starting yesterday when the last leak sprung. So he thinks that's our second biggest emergency issue we need to deal with. And he's correct. There's all those homes up there that if it goes, we're going to lose pressure, and you can't fix that thing overnight. I don't even know if I could Band-Aid it back together at this point. So reached out to a couple contractors, Stetler being one of them, because Stetler did the contact tank. They were very easy to work with. They did good work. And I got an email back from them. They're going to come down and take a look and see if we can't figure out a time and materials type contract to make some immediate repairs. If not, we're going to have to do a bypass pump outside the station so we can keep Coast Guard Hill up on pressure, right? And then take the manifold and skid and redesign and build a new skid and pumps. But that has to happen soon, guys. It's just going to be catastrophic when that thing blows apart. So I did have Lance up there from Coos Curry Supply. We looked at pumps, we looked at head, elevations, all that good stuff. And he's working with me to kind of help me through this, who we find to build this manifold for us, because it is a custom built manifold. It's not something you can go buy. And with that, they welded a bunch of the fittings in when they built it for some reason. So you can't even remove the 90s and the nipples that are leaking. So that's kind of the major deal. That's kind of the rundown we got. Jason is, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jess, I think he's working on to help us to find funding sources, I believe. And then the guy from Dyer is going to help us with the engineering. Now, if I understand it correctly, we can go in and make repairs, but when we replace the skid, then we have to come up to current codes and dates and all that stuff. So that is going to require some engineering. There's a lot of pressure relief valves, there's clay valves, there's all kinds of stuff tied into that skid. So yeah, I don't know. I tell you, I'm pulling my hair out here. But that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. And they had so that's pretty much right. They will help us with both funding and getting everything and plans to get it together, basically to get it all fixed, which is what they're going to help us with. And they also had some suggestions on possibly if we want it. I think it was the one from civil engineering said, if we can work on the budget for next year, a lot of cities or towns do, replacement for a whole city block or a whole section, like a smaller section of their city for all their infrastructure almost annually. So that then at that point, when it's time to replace, go all the way back around, they've finished everything and it's pretty good. And it's been in small sections instead of large sections where you have to shut down a good portion of the city to get things done. So we had a bunch of good suggestions. So that's what, hopefully tomorrow when I get the email, I'll have a whole list of them. But like you said, the biggest thing was the dam and Coast Guard Hill are the two things right now that are emergencies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the piecemeal too, because if we just start doing those polylaterals, we'll gain probably 100 gallons a minute on every one we do. And then they can just tie in with the new main line when we got that going in a couple of years, the complete city redo.
Mm-hmm. So with that water loss, they were absolutely surprised that we're running 50%. They try to aim for 15 or less.
Yeah.
And he said that type of water loss, the water loss that we're incurring would pay for the main line in about 3 years. So, I mean, cost of chemicals, cost of overtime, cost of electricity, cost of running, 16 hours a day, the whole 9 yards. They were super concerned with the 50% loss rate.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, so has this service always been available for us just to call these people up and have them come out and help us out?
Yes, it has always been available. It just was never used and or utilized.
Wow.
It's 100% free. You do not have to pay a dime.
Thank you, Jessica, or whoever reached out and helped. This is awesome. Thank you.
Right. Mm-hmm. And there was something about the circuit riders too. I don't remember. Maybe Jessica does. There was so much information today. But the circuit riders offer the free service too. And they should be kind of, if we call them, they'll come down and help us with how to focus and kind of align our future here. So we start at, A and go to Z or vice versa, just so we're doing it in the right order type thing,
Yeah, because they'll come and do an energy audit with all the pump stations and see where we're losing the most energy and all that good stuff. And that'll help figure out the rates and stuff. It's kind of a good angle to start the rate study too.
Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
That's exactly what they said. They think that we need to do another rate study. They had multiple suggestions on how to get the rates increased over a period of time so that people are not shocked with an amount. But we also have to look at the median income. Are going to have to go up. And then we have to also look at the median income, though, of obviously the city, because there's a certain percentage that you have to stick around. Mm-hmm. I think caller 4 has his mic on.
Caller 4, please mute your mic. And Gary, did you have something?
Yeah, I was curious. It seemed like I talked to David a couple months before he left, and he was mentioning something about the metering the trunks. It seemed like
we've been talking about that for years.
I know, and I don't know if any work had been done toward that.
Not yet, but yeah, we talked about that too. So you could do sections of the city and kind of and see where your biggest losses are.
Right.
But then again, I don't know. I know it would help, but I don't know how that fits into the grand scheme of getting the infrastructure, back to where, because right now we had 9 leaks in the last week and a half. we're doing nothing but fixing stuff, and we're not getting any maintenance done or, the meter installs. We've got the stuff for ODOT that we're doing, and with 4 of us here, and, water and sewer are taking a full guy. So, Tuesday through Thursday is my day where I have the whole crew here because I don't know if you guys know this, one guy's off on Friday, one guy's off on Monday. And so it's really hard to get work done when you only have 3 days a week where you actually have the crew, and it takes most of the crew to do these things. So my proposal is going to come out to Jessica soon about getting another utilities guy that's got a mechanical background and has, the skill set we're looking for, because there's a lot of stuff out there, guys, that is just stacking up. We're not getting done.
Well, yeah, and your backlog too. And that's one thing we got to watch, is because there is all these great ideas, but like John says, there's not enough time in the day. And when you got 9 leaks in a week, it doesn't matter how good you plan things. That's what you have to do that day. And I think, John, the merit of those meters would be just for order of importance on those laterals, so we could say, obviously, this is the one we need to get done first, but we have some more important things to do first, because even if we meter those laterals, we still need the money to replace them. So it's a double-edged sword. John, I got one quick question that's kind of on the Coast Guard Hill Station. That runs 24/7, right?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, because that's the weird thing about that is the manifold. Like, that's a whole homemade 1995 Port Orford special. So obviously, and one other thing I wanted to ask on that is, I can't remember the name of the pump. It might be Portland Tech or something. I'll find out tomorrow. But they make pump skids, and they will come down and engineer it themselves, which might save us a couple bucks, because they want to sell the pump skids. So they'll come down and work the numbers and tell you what you need, and that might cut out some engineering on it.
Well, that would be fantastic. The more options I find, I'm buried right now, and I'm having a hard time doing the research I need to do to get somebody down here. That would be great, because I think ultimately it'd be cheaper and way more cost effective to blow a hole in that concrete building and slide that old skid out, slide a new skid in, spend a half a day plumbing it, get it flushed, and get it back online, than doing everything it's going to take. If we do the temporary repair, we're kind of throwing good money at it's just a waste.
Exactly.
The other thing I'll say too is we've minimized our loss in that dam, and I didn't tell you earlier because I forgot, but we cut our runtime down on the plant itself, because our drawdown, what we were taking during the day, and our recovery rate at nighttime was only about half of what we were using during the daytime. So what I've done now is to minimize the water loss out of Hubbard's is we're running the plant 12 hours a day. And the problem with that is we're not gaining anything. We're losing 1 foot, 1.5 feet to 1.9 at nighttime, because we're shutting off at 8 rather than midnight. But it's given us an extra 4.5 hours of recovery time before we fire up in the morning. So the Hubbard's is coming back up slowly. So we're just going to keep doing that. But know this, that we're sitting at like 22 feet, 22.5 feet in the tank instead of 28, 20.5 like I'd like to be. So if we do have a major line break or a fire, then we could run the risk of, being at that golden number below 10 and lose pressure throughout the system. But that's just kind of the risk I have to take right now to try to, get the water back into the reservoir, let it build back up. And then in a couple of days, maybe be able to run 16 again for a few days and try to get our levels back up around 25. I'm comfortable at 22, but I really don't like it below 20, because Port Orford leak was a 2-inch line, and we dropped 4.5 feet before we had it stopped. And I think it took us about an hour. So that's how quick we lose our tank levels. We had the same thing on Paradise Point last week. We lost 1.5 inch line. We lost a couple feet of water. And it's just that quick. Vista Reservoir, she had a 2-inch line. We lost 2 or 3 feet before we could stop it. So I just want you to know how quick it happens, and it takes time to figure out where it's at. We drove around for 2.5 hours that morning to find the one at Vista. Luckily we found it, and it was an easy shut off. There was a valve on the opposite side of the break. We were able to quickly close it, but it's 4 or 5 days to make that water back up. and we won't make that water back up at 12 hours a day. It just won't happen. So that's, now you know the whole story.
Thank you, John.
And one of the other things they talked about, which I'm going to deal with tomorrow, is calling the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and working on getting a higher amount of yardage that we can dredge.
Awesome.
So they said because it was under a certain time frame from the time that we did it, if I remember correctly, John, correct me, was since it was under 20 years, we can possibly go back and say, hey, we only needed it for this 1 year. I'm so sorry. We need to go back to the amount that we were before due to this water shortage and see what happens. They said that it might be pretty easy to get back.
Yeah, Tim, you were mayor for a long time there. Do you recall why we reduced our yardage from 2,000 a year to 25 yards a year?
I don't recall why it was reduced, but I will tell you this, that dredge has not been used by Public Works in probably seven or 8 years, maybe 9 years. So we haven't dredged anything with the exception of last year.
Okay.
So we are silted in without a doubt in my mind.
Oh yeah. There's probably 8 to 10 feet of silt in Hubbard's. We probably lost 2/3 of our capacity there. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah,
So
and that's like I said, when we get closer, we can talk with the Port Commission about maybe using the ports dredge, because that won't hit the what do you call that layer? Bentonite? That won't break through the bentonite.
Right.
So, we could probably keep it 3 feet above that. And that, well, I mean, even, yeah, it would take all the sediment out real fast and real easy. Okay. And we will talk about this on the next agenda too. We'll know more. I'll try to get that number tomorrow, John, about that pump skid, because I know it would help. The tricky thing with that is that darn run 24 hours a day diaphragm thing that they had to do. So
yeah,
you know what? And we might even be able to move that pump house up the hill a little bit if it specs out better.
Well, if we re-engineer it, we're going to have some extra cost too, because the guy was telling us that we have to engineer it for the amount of homes that are above it for fire.
Oh,
if I'm wrong,
no.
Jessica may be remembering, but I think he said it's got to be at least 1,000 gallons a minute capacity.
Yeah, he said 1,000 to 1,500. He said these are probably geared for 500. I think he said.
Wow. Yeah, 300. That's a lot of pump.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like to get 1,000 gallons out of that hydrant by the memorial, you'd need 2 pump stations, or a pump station that went to a tank and then just was there for that hydrant.
Right. So that's what that's what Civil's going to do. They're going to tell us what we got to do to be able to meet today's requirements, I guess.
Is that a 6-inch line that goes up there?
Well, the pumps are 2.5 out, 2.5 out, and 1.5 inches to a 6-inch line.
Okay.
But we might have a workaround for that too. They had told us that they worked with the fire marshal. I think it was in Eugene or Springfield, and worked a workaround so that they did not have to supply that much water to there. So I don't know if that's something we'll be able to do, but it's a shot.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and that was
a 6-inch line though, because that, you can run a hydrant off of that. If it was an old 4-inch line or something, we would have even bigger problems if that's what we're up to. So, okay, did everybody get their questions in? And Jessica and John, did you kind of update us, and we'll talk about it more at our regular meeting?
Yeah, I think we're good for right now. We're going to get a lot more information tomorrow once we get the reports back from these guys on a list.
Okay. Well, thank you guys very much for doing the extra work. We really appreciate what you do, and we understand that we're all just doing the best we can, John. So,
John,
you
still need me to drone for you?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to find the time to get away so we can get up there. Please.
It won't take long. You know what I mean? Half hour or so, we can get it all done in half hour.
Okay, sounds great.
All right.
Okay,
John. Please thank your crew, and thank you, and of course Jessica and all that you're doing right now. We know things look grim, but you guys are hanging in there and we really appreciate your effort. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Don't worry about a thing.
Yeah. I like Pat's attitude.
So do I.
All righty. Well, thank you for all the public engagement. Like I said, you'll have an opportunity at the next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and adjourn this at 5:00. Thank you, James. I'm sorry you had no time for a snack with your half-hour break, but we got you out of here. Thank you all. Thanks again, John and Jessica.
Thank you guys for your work.
Thanks. Bye.
Quick response.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
This conference is no longer being recorded.